Roki Sasaki, maybe the biggest name of the free agent pitcher market, maybe, right now, coming over from Japan. He's officially posting. There's a lot of information that you need to know. One of those being that the Mets are interested. Of course, this is still the Mets'd podcast, so there has to be some sort of Mets spin on everything that we do here. We're going to give you a full breakdown on what exactly is going on with Roki Sasaki, his posting details, what the Mets can offer, who's probably going to sign him, how good of a pitcher he is. We're going to give you like 20 minutes of Roki Sasaki content. So I hope you guys are excited for this. Lock in, drop a like on the YouTube video, subscribe over there. And if you're listening to us, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, we do appreciate all of you. Thank you for downloading and listening. James Sasaki. Yes. We saw the news the other night when we were out that he officially posted. Mm-hmm. And it's a weird feeling because for the longest time, Sasaki was a guy that it was very much up in the air whether or not he was going to be coming over this year, next year, the following year. He's one of the most exciting pitching prospects, I guess we could call him, is
on earth.
On earth. Like he throws 100 miles an hour. He's got devastating breaking balls. His splitter is unhittable. He's one of the best pitching prospects we've ever seen come over from Japan. And now it's official. He's going to be coming over. What were your initial thoughts?
Initial thoughts were kind of like you said, weird. Because it's for Japanese players, they have so much to lose and so much less to gain when they come over either before they turn 25 or before they've spent 9 years in the MPB. Because you're coming over as an amateur free agent, amateur international free agent, similar to how Ohtani came over, where you're signing for anything that a team can give you out of their international bonus pool money, and then you become someone as if you get brought up from the minor leagues to the major leagues, where now you are under team control for 6 years, the first 3 or 2, depending on Super 2 at the league minimum, and then you go the arbitration process. And then in 6 years, you become a free agent. And you compare that to Yoshinobu Yamamoto last year, who Sasaki's been compared to, not in volume, but in natural talent, where he signed a $300 million contract. And you have the opportunity to have this if you're Sasaki, if you wait 2 years. But instead, he's full steam ahead, putting his head down and coming to the major leagues ASAP. So again, first thoughts from me, this is kind of a strange situation. I think we probably share that sentiment.
Yeah, no, it's bizarre. And I think what's also weird about this, too, is that there is no doubt that Roki Sasaki is incredibly talented, similar talent level as Yoshinobu Yamamoto. But the difference between the two guys right now when they are coming over, besides the age thing and just the whole contract situation, is that Yoshinobu Yamamoto does have a lot more innings underneath his arm. He has a lot more experience on the mound, where a guy like Roki Sasaki, because of how his injuries have been, because of how Japan handles young pitchers, because of his age. I mean, he's literally 22, 23 years old. He has never thrown more than 129 innings in a season, and that came back in 2022. This past year, he threw 111. The year before that, 91. It's a bizarre scenario because he is more like a prospect rather than a guy who is going to come in and be one of your aces, even though he is going to be your ace.
He is. I've been thinking about him a little bit in terms of fantasy baseball, and then also a lot of Mets fans are thinking about him in terms of this season. He's someone who I think you hope becomes an ace. Probably not someone who would be an ace in 2025, which is the difference of Yamamoto, where Yamamoto, you were like, he's small. I don't know exactly what we're going to get from him 4, 5, 6 years from now, but you're going to have 3, 4 years right now where he's going to be one of the 15 best pitchers in baseball. That's what you're paying for. Again, Sasaki's not small. Sasaki's 6'2". He's got his fastball up to 102 miles an hour. That was 2 years ago, though, like similar to you said, how it's been a little weird. It's been spotty health-wise the last few years. So I think that first, maybe we should talk about like the situations around signing him, and then talk about him as a pitcher, and then we'll talk about how the Mets' chances here. But again, this is really, really, really weird. Teams can only offer money from the international bonus pool, and that's like codified every single year for every single team in the league, and that's what you use to sign players from Dominican Republic, Venezuela, any player that's not from America who you want to sign as an amateur. So the most any team has when they start the year is $7.5 million. And that only comes from the worst teams in the league. Because MLB does like a secret thing and no one knows about where they give the 15 teams the lowest revenue in the league extra draft picks and extra international bonus pool money every single year. It's been the last 2 CBAs. Can't believe they get away with it. Can't believe nobody knows about it. But that's teams like the A's, the Marlins, the Guardians. Like these are the Tigers, the Cardinals. For some fucking reason, the Cardinals get to sneak into this. But these teams have that so they can spend more money and do more things in this, get more players, get more prospects, get competitive balance. These are called competitive balance picks. But if he is posted soon and he signs before January 15th, which is when the international free agency period turns over to the next year, teams can only sign him from what they have saved over from last year's international pool. So most teams have already spent it because the international period's been open for almost a full calendar year. So not many teams have much money left. The only team that really does have a significant amount of money left is the Dodgers, the Orioles, the Yankees, the Giants, and the Red Sox. Those are the only teams with more than $950,000, where the Dodgers and the Orioles are the only teams with over $2 million. So some people might have known this could have been happening a little bit more than others.
Yeah, and I think there is still a super chance that Sasaki does wait until 2025, the next international signing period, to actually be posted and signed. I think it feels like it could help your team out a little bit. Like the contract that you signed with them feels like it'd be really shitty to cut them out of a little bit of extra money, even though they're kind of just letting you go. We don't know the full details of his contract. There was so many different things coming out about how he had a sponsorship that he signed before he became an MVP player. Under the table. Like there was just a lot of nonsense, honestly. Don't really care because now he's coming to the majors and that's the only thing that really matters. But posting takes a while. There's really no incentive to get posted before that date for the team, for the player. There's really nothing to do. He could just come hang out in America right now if he wants and continue to do his work.
Sure he will.
But it does affect the money that's available. And right now, if he does it for 2024, the Dodgers have the most, whereas if he posts for 2025, the Dodgers do not have the most because they're, of course, one of the highest spending teams in baseball.
Yes, and I think they've made some deals that took some money out of it. I think signing players from qualifying offers. I think some teams have made trades, including some international bonus pool money, because you're allowed to do that. But I'm happy you brought up his old team in Japan because they are kind of getting fucked here, the Chiba Lotte Marines. When you used to be posting, teams used to just be like $20 million to post this guy. That was the max you could say. No matter how old the person was, how long they spent in Japan, you could be like $20 million. That was the Daisuke money. That was the Masahiro Tanaka money. And that was Ohtani, was the last player grandfathered into the last system. Even though he came over as an amateur, his team, the Nippon Ham Fighters, got to say, you need to pay $20 million just for us to release him. That changed in the last CBA, and that started with, basically with Yamamoto last year, where now there's a pretty dense calculation where the team gets 20% of the deals first, the Japanese team, for the posting fee, 20% of the deals first, $25 million, so that's $5 million, 17.5% of the next $25 million, and 15% of all further spending. So when Roki Sasaki signs, his team will only get 20% of any deal he gets, which maximum, and I don't think anyone's ever going to get near this maximum, is $7.5 million from the Detroit Tigers. So that's not going to happen. Realistically, this deal is going to come in somewhere between $1.5 and $4 million, and his team is going to get chump change, where last year the Oryx Buffaloes got over $50 million for Yoshinobu Yamamoto. And again, a couple of years ago, under the same pretense but in a different system, the Nippon Ham Fighters got $20 million for Shohei Ohtani.
And also, he still gets to pick what team he wants to play for. So even if the Detroit Tigers come in with the most money, or the Oakland A's, or not Oakland A's, just the A's now.
Sacramento Athletics.
Yeah, Sacramento. I think they're technically not even Sacramento Athletics yet. I think it's just the Athletics. If the Athletics come in with the most money, he can be like, yeah, I just don't want to play there. I'm going to go play for the Dodgers, which is the whole crazy part of this, is we can talk so much about who's got the most money, who's got this, who's got that. Sasaki wants to seemingly play on the West Coast. He's talked about openly that he wants to play for Los Angeles Dodgers very aggressively. And if not, he has connections with Yu Darvish. Yu Darvish worked out with him last offseason, taught him how to throw a slider. It was a pitch that was filthy for him this past year. Probably the Padres then, if not. There doesn't seem to be as many possible takers on Sasaki as there were for some of the other Japanese players that have come over in the past, just because it seems like he's kind of made his mind up. The one thing, though, is that he seems like he wants to be in a big market. I've heard some rumors that maybe he's not as interested in being in a big market, but I still really haven't. Everything seems like it's leaning towards LA or maybe even New York.
Reading into it, it does seem like he wants to be a bit of a star.
Yeah.
It seems like that's part of the goal here. And I think some people I've been in Japanese baseball Twitter, because I had a tweet about Sasaki that got 150,000 impressions on Friday night. So I've been getting a lot of Japanese Twitter on my feed, and some people are outraged about this, that he's basically leaving this team. Again, we don't know what kind of deals happened under the table. We don't know what agreements were ever had between these players and these clubs, but people are upset about this, and people are like, he wants to go to the bright lights of America. And I saw one Japanese Twitter guy posting that he was so mad because that team, the Chiba Lotte Marines, last year would have been 11th in Major League Baseball in attendance, and I think the Dodgers and the Yankees were the only teams that had more average game attendance than Yomiuri Giants, who I think are basically the Japanese Yankees. So Japan loves their baseball. These games are sick. The fan bases are crazy there. The playoffs are intense. The competition is really legit. It's probably, I won't say probably, it's definitely the second best professional baseball league on earth.
Easily,
it probably compares really reasonably with AAA baseball. They would probably smack
even
the AAA
better
team.
Yeah, they're 4A more so.
In between AAA and the major leagues, the big difference is kind of game style and velocity, which is something that Sasaki has, which is why he was so fucking disgusting when he was sitting 100 miles an hour. Also, something interesting about Sasaki coming over 23, 6 years of team control. He'll be a full-on free agent at 29. That's the fucking payday. People are like, he's giving up $300 million on that table. He's also, guys, dealt with a lot of injuries in the last 2 years. He can just get some millions of dollars now. If anything horrible happens to him, it'll happen in America while he's making Major League Baseball salary with Major League Baseball doctors, with Major League Baseball rehab facilities. And then he still gets to be a free agent before he turns 30 years old. I don't say hate that plan, especially the fact that he can come to America as soon as he can. It seems like he just simply wants to be here.
Yeah, no, I think he definitely wants to be here, and I don't blame him. I mean, he's watched a lot of really great Japanese players in the last couple of years come over and have great success. You go in Japan, and apparently every single advertisement is Shohei Ohtani. I'm sure he's like, I'd like to be like that. Yeah, that'd be pretty cool.
That seems cool. Yeah,
I throw 100 miles an hour. I don't hit. I can't hit 50 home runs and steal 50 bases in a season, but I'm a pretty damn good pitcher. We saw a little bit of him in the World Baseball Classic too. Like, the stuff is absolutely electric out of him.
Ridiculous. But again, the stuff has pulled back in the last couple of years. I think that's a scary thing. 2 years ago was when he popped off in Japan. He started getting famous. But I don't remember if 2 years ago if it was like last year, the year before this one, where he had the 19 strikeout perfect game and threw 7 no-hit innings after that. The fastball was sitting over 100 miles an hour. The splitter was darting. The slider was 88. It looked like he was like the top pitching phenom on earth. I think even at the time, because it was happening again last year, he was being compared to Paul Skeens, which I think was interesting because these two guys sitting over 100 with these crazy splitters, and it was like, wow. But it fell back a lot last year. It doesn't seem like a lot, but the fastball did fall back to 96, 97. The slider and the splitter also dropped in velo. Lance Brozdowski, friend of the podcast, recurring guest, he did a great, amazing video breakdown on YouTube about all of Roki Sasaki stuff. He got data from the MPB, and he went deep into everything. Pitch shapes, and basically what he said was that as the velocity has dropped, his fastball became a lot more susceptible because the shape was never great. If the shape isn't great, though, and you're throwing 100, it doesn't fucking matter. You're throwing 100 miles an hour. But once that shape comes back in 96, we talk about this a lot with Kodai Senga, then you're a little more susceptible. You wind up in this dead zone where the pitch kind of comes exactly as the batter's going to expect it. He's not going to swing under because it doesn't have that great up-rising action, that high IVB like we talk about sometimes, and they're just going to hit it. That kind of thing doesn't really get hit, though, as much even in Japan because no one has power there. I think Yamamoto his last full year in Japan, gave up 2 home runs the whole year, and this year home runs were a legitimate issue for him in the major leagues, just to give a sense of how different the hitters will approach approaching that bat, Japan versus USA. But I don't know. Like, just like everything with pitching that we talk about in this show, I'm tantalized by the upside and think even maybe if he has like arm soreness, shoulder soreness, fatigue, get the surgery, be healthy, and then get the next 5 years of free ace-like pitching.
Well, I was about to say, here's the other thing is that he's so free. He costs no money.
Nothing.
If you were a team, you were getting an impact arm, a guy who, like you said, could potentially be not just one of the best pitchers on your team, but one of the best pitchers in baseball because of the potential and the growth and the age and everything that's built into him, for absolutely free. That's why like a guy like Paul Skeens is just so incredibly valuable to the Pittsburgh Pirates, a small market team who's not going to have to pay him any money for a couple seasons, and he will simply be one of the best pitchers in baseball. They're a borderline playoff team because of that. You get a couple good players around Paul Skeens and the Pirates, all of a sudden you're looking at a team that can make some noise. Major. Roki Sasaki has the chance to do that.
Looking for recipes to bring the autumn feels? Hello, have you tried HelloFresh yet? America's #1 meal kit gives you over 50 recipes to choose from. Each week, they pre-portion the ingredients and then they ship them right to your doorstep.
Picky eaters like Scott or people looking to fit a specific lifestyle have met their match. HelloFresh features preferences like fit and wholesome, quick and easy, or vegetarian.
HelloFresh helps me eat healthier and maintain my presence as a popular chef at home with my kids. I'm bringing variety to the dinner table.
Just stop with the endless recipe searching, or you're spending a whole bunch of money on a big jar of spices just for a pinch. That's all you need. You can also get step-by-step recipe cards, making cooking simpler by using HelloFresh.
Get 10 free meals at HelloFresh.com/freeFT. Applied across 7 boxes, new subscribers only, varies by plan. That's 10 free HelloFresh meals just by going to HelloFresh.com/freeFT.
That's why a team like the Mets, if there's any possible world where we can convince Roki Sasaki to come over, he would be integral to the Mets' success. He would change how this franchise's rotation looks.
Ironically, the second he steps foot on Major League soil with a contract for a team, becomes one of the most valuable players in all of baseball. Because it's these things we're saying. We don't know exactly how great he'll be immediately. And everything that fell off with him last year, I think, is serious. He was running, I like to use a stat in this podcast a lot, strikeout minus walk rate. I think it's just one of the best ways to encapsulate how good a pitcher is. You take his percentage of hitters he strikes out, the percentage of hitters he walks, and you subtract them from the other, and that's you get a number. Sasaki was sitting 30% in those numbers the last couple of years when he was really good. That's literally unheard of in the NPB because hitters don't strike out very much, and pitchers are very careful with their control. They don't walk hitters. Just as an example, Yamamoto, who was considered like the god of pitching there, same with you, Darvish. Both of those guys were 22% strikeout minus walk rates. Sasaki was sitting 32, 33%. Even last year, when he had his down year, he dropped to 21%. The 3-year average of his strikeout minus walk rate is 28.4%. Shohei Ohtani, before he came over, his 3-year average 22.7%. Masahiro Tanaka, probably still the most successful Japanese pitcher that's ever come over, 21.7. Shota Imanaga, 21.3. Daisuke Matsuzaka with the famous gyro ball, 19.5%. And Kodai Senga, who we saw be dominant in his first season in the major leagues, 18.4%. Sasaki did things as a pitcher in Japan that we've literally never, ever seen a pitcher do over there. And that's why this is so hot. That's why everyone's talking about this right now. That's also why, again, it's so fucking weird. He's coming over and foregoing a $300 million payday in 2 years.
It's crazy, but I guess because he's going to be a free agent, like you said, before he turns 30, he's like, I'm going to be good. I'll just get paid then. Because, like, he will get paid if he's any sort of close to what he's comparing to and what people are projecting him to be like. He will get that payday for sure. It's bizarre. I don't know. Do the Mets even have a chance? Like, honestly, do we think there's a chance? I know David Stearns has watched him pitch. Steve Cohen, I think, has been to Japan a couple times. Like, we've seen the pictures and the videos and all that kind of stuff from the last couple of years, just in general, courting a lot of the Japanese free agents in general. Is there a shot here? Because I'd love there to be a chance for us.
I truthfully put it at 10%. And that's taking the fan glasses off. That's like absolutely no bias. I really think it's 10%. And maybe it's 10% for every team besides the Dodgers. That's maybe how I'll phrase it. And Dodgers 90%. Every other team gets like 2 or 3% of this. But David Stearns did go see him live towards the end of last year. That's a major sign of respect. I think that we handled the Yoshinobu Yamamoto situation really well. Steve Cohen went to Japan, I think, multiple times to talk and court him, and I think that situation wound up very positively for everyone. And we have the Kodai Senga factor is legitimate. Kodai Senga did pick this place, and it was really tremendous. And Roki follows him on Instagram, so I think that's a big thing. So I'm sure Kodai will be part of this. Again, I don't think it's likely, but there probably has to be a little bit. And I thought this would be true in Yamamoto's head, and it wasn't. But he seems to be a bit more of a quieter guy, where Roki seems to want to be a bit more of a star. Just having seen the way he kind of carries himself, and just seeing how he wants to kind of break this Japanese culture thing and come to America, and literally break the rules to do it. Some part of him has to be like, do I really want to go and be the 3rd biggest Japanese star in the Dodgers? Like, not even just the 3rd biggest star. He'd be like the 6th biggest star, truthfully.
I mean, there's something to it. I think there's something to it. Mets also have a history of getting Japanese players as well. Like, if you look we got Kaz Matsui, we got Shinjo. Those are 2 of the big ones that I can remember. Like, there's definitely a history of Japanese players playing for the New York Mets. If you're not going to play in LA, New York's a pretty good market. Obviously, Seattle's another one that they love to go to. But I don't know if any other team makes as much sense either as the Dodgers, where it's like,
no, certainly not. I mean,
they could really use some cheap pitching.
Yeah, and the other part that's weird about this too is that if he does post ASAP and it goes to the 2024 window, the Mets have literally no chance.
No shot.
Because the Mets only have $300,000 left of their international bonus pool, and I don't know. I think that you just can't really just get players off it to do it. MLB is really, really, really tight. For everything above board with the international free agents, they let you do the Wild West with things below the board. There's like international free agents, it's kind of like the iceberg meme, where it's like, here's everything on top of the iceberg. We're going to be really careful about this stuff. And everything below the iceberg, we didn't see anything below the iceberg.
Yeah.
But the fact that now these deals are already above the water level, you can see the iceberg, no more funny business there. And it does make it look really shitty that when you see how much money every team has left, clearly the Dodgers are the team with the most. They're clearly the team that set their money aside, waiting to do this.
It's like they knew. It's like they knew that this was going to happen.
Tampering. Find them. Kick Andrew Friedman out of the league. Get rid of him. Because other people have been DMing me a lot, like, about Roki. And it was like, why don't the Mets make a deal under the table? Why didn't Steve Cohen shake his hand and be like, here is the $300,000 now, and then a week from now, here's $200 million in a 10-year extension? And I'm sorry, guys. I really hate to admit this. You just simply can't do that. They are, again, MLB lets a lot go with the things they can't see with the international free agent period. But everything they can see, they're really, really tight with. And there's going to be hawk eyes on everything. The Braves' old GM, John Coppola, got literally banned from baseball. He just finally got readmitted back this year after a 6-year ban. But he was caught funneling extra money to the Braves' international free agents and draft picks for the period of time where they acquired all the players that led to their World Series championship and this new core they have. So shout out them for that. But JJ Cooper also wanted to shout him out. He did a great article, Not Behind the Paywall, Baseball America, just going through the CBA, all of the exact language in there about promising a player extra money, promising a player a spot in the MLB roster, because you can't even do that technically.
No.
Literally signing as a minor leaguer, as an amateur. Like he will get called up, of course, at the beginning of the season, but he's coming into the league basically as a new minor leaguer, which is crazy because he's one of the most electric pitchers on planet Earth.
Yeah, and yeah, I'd really love him on the Mets. It'd be so
love
great.
him on the Mets. It would change everything.
It'd be so awesome to get free pitching for 4, 5, 6 years. It'd be amazing. Oh my God, but it's just probably not going to happen. And unless some news comes out in the time from when we stop recording this to when it publishes in the morning for you guys on Monday or whatever day you're listening to this, they're not likely to get him. There's no
It's
way.
very unlikely. And also, again, just for people being like, we have the most money, just cheat. I hear some really, really, really deliberately broad language in the CBA. No club or player, including their designated representatives, may enter into any understanding agreement or transaction or make any representation, whether implied or explicit, that is designed to defeat or circumvent the provisions of the International Amateur Talent System. Any club or their representatives that is found to have engaged in circumvention, I like the word circumvention, or attempted circumvention, you can't even attempt circumvention,
No.
will be subject to sanctions by the commissioner, including fines, suspensions, non-approval of the transactions or contracts, and loss of future signing rights. They are not going to let any funny business happen with this, which again, this fucking sucks for the Mets because this is our advantage, is cash in the pocket. And this is the one free agent on earth that we can't use our cash advantage on.
No, it's unfortunate because boy, oh boy, would I love to throw him the bag too. I mean, Yamamoto looks like in 1 year he was pretty dang good. He was,
yeah. It seems like if you could have flipped that, a lot of other things could have possibly flipped.
Yeah, for sure. But unfortunately, the money, Steve Cohen's deep pockets will have absolutely no effect on this. But hey, this is a Juan Soto podcast. We want Juan Soto.
This is one to the podcast. And the fucking Dodgers going to get another one.
Yeah, they can't keep getting away with this. How do they keep doing it? It's so annoying.
Not fucking fair. It really isn't fair because they're just going to add him for free to this team. I mean, Again, they might not. There's a chance other teams can sign him. But a lot of, especially if we get this to the next year, where also teams probably have money commitments to next year's international free agent period class too.
Yeah, but
But not official yet.
I think for a guy like this, you give it up almost for a year, and you take the 10K or whatever the minimum is, and you try and fill out the rest of your international players through that. But I think when Sasaki posts whatever the maximum amount of money is, I'm sure he is going to get.
Again, maybe, but I don't know. I think even
Why?
I think it's going to be a game where everyone's just aware of what everyone else is offering. Because
But
I don't
then-
think but here's the other part of this. It's so uniform. It's a difference between $4 million and $5 million to the guy like Sasaki. Tremendous.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe for this, then you do that and you blow it out. But it seems
Yeah.
like similar to Ohtani, where he got $2.3 million. Like this probably winds up around, I think, 3 the max, or the exact 2.5 the Dodgers left off their books for last year.
Yeah, well, I guess we'll find out and see. We'll find out maybe in January. That would be the best for the Mets if we find out.
We need that.
Nice little birthday
Patience would
present
be
for
key
me.
here. Yeah, great birthday present for Mark here. If we let this thing just drift out a little bit.
Yeah, and I'm sure you guys will hear a lot more as the offseason goes on. That's all we got for you today. A little Roki Sasaki talk. Give you a little bit of a breakdown in case you guys didn't know already. And he's not coming to the Mets. But thank you
Almost
guys
definitely not.
Yeah, almost definitely not. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Subscribe on YouTube, Mets'd Podcast, Apple Podcast, Spotify, Overcast, whatever it is. Drop us a rating, drop us a review, download, and subscribe. You can follow James on Twitter at
James_Shiano.
me, Giraffe Neck Mark with a C. Thank you guys for listening and watching. We'll catch you on the next episode. Peace out.
Peace out. See you guys next time. Let's go Mets.